Good morning. My name is Carsten Adamsen, and I'm Vice Chair of the Useful Cities Commission, and I would very much like to welcome you all to this plenary session here, where we are going to listen to the voices of tomorrow. During this week, since Saturday, we have had a parallel youth conference with the participation of 53 young people from all around the Baltic Sea. And they were yesterday given tasks from all of the commissions in the UBC, and they have been working quite hard for that. And you'll hear their results and comments on their tasks a little later on. But first of all, once again, we'll experience a performance by the students from St. Sigrid, the School for Jazz Music, Classical Music, Composing and Rhythmic in Växjö, with an extraordinary reputation. So please welcome them on the stage. Thank you to Saint Sigrid. What a great way to start the day. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage our moderator for the day. And I will only say his name is Oliver Rosengren, and he's much better at introducing himself than I will be. So welcome on stage, Oliver.
Thank you, Carsten. So my name is Oliver Rosengren. I am the Deputy Mayor of Växjö, and I would like to start by greeting you again to this municipality. I hope you have enjoyed the stay. I also heard that you yesterday evening left the municipality for another municipality, but the event was still as good as this municipality could present for you. So apart from being the Deputy Mayor, I'm also the chairman for our Board for Labour and Welfare, our Committee for Labour and Welfare. And I am very happy to be able to join you here. I were with you in Gdynia a couple of years ago, and I'm really, really glad that you are here with us in Växjö this year. Last time I did something like this, it was an international conference for math scientists. And it was also the first time in my life when someone laughed at my jokes about differential equations or something like that. I will spare you. So we will start off straight away by giving the floor to our first presenter. We have the opportunity today to have our former Minister for Environment, the Senior Advisor for UBC, and also the Chair for Södra. Södra is a large corporation of 50,000 family forest owners, and Lena Ek is here to present for us today. So welcome to the stage, Lena, and we are very happy to have you. A warm applause.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here. Yesterday I spoke before a number of ministers in the Estonian presidency for the European Union at the meeting in Tallinn. And with all respect for the ministers, I think your meeting is more important. Because what you have been discussing is a number of enormous problems and how to solve it for the future. And I think this is exactly the discussions that we need locally in our municipalities, but that we need in the European Union and also globally. We have a number of huge challenges that we have to solve. And of course, you are a major part of this. We cannot allow microplastic pollution of our oceans to continue. We cannot accept the breakdown of ecosystems. We cannot remain passive bystanders by climate change. And we cannot continue to be passive bystanders when we see the lack of jobs, lack of housing, health problems that occur from environmental pollutions, but also from lack of interest for social issues. And therefore, I was so happy when I came this morning and saw that in the entrance hall, you have a display of the United Nations Sustainable Development Targets. I think they are so smart, not only because I was part of the negotiations, but the combination of economic issues, social issues, and environmental issues. And sometimes in Europe, I think we get a bit colonial, if you excuse the wording, because we cannot say to the developing countries, look, you have to solve this problem in environment and you have to solve this environmental problem, without us also saying, we support you when you want to fight poverty. It goes together. Now you're visiting not only Växjö, but also one of the major knowledge clusters in the world when it comes to forestry and biodegradable products. And I started by pointing out the microplastic problems. I think that is maybe something that is bigger even than climate. And why? Well, microplastics derive from fossil plastics, and they are small, tiny, tiny particles, slightly static, so that they draw environment poisons to the surface. The halving time is 95 years. 95 years, then they are halved in 50%, and then 50%, and then 50%. Means that they stay in the nature for hundreds and hundreds of years. And right now, when we see whales stranding on the coast of Germany or Norway, and the veterinaries go in to see why did these whales die and why did they act in this abnormal way, and they open them and look into the intestines, and they see that they are filled with plastic litter, but also with microplastics. And as they are static, slightly electrical, or you cannot just shake them off, you have to brush them off as any surface, and that means that they stay inside in the stomach and the intestines. And the whales, you know, they go with the open mouth in the oceans like vacuum cleaners, and of course they are among the first to meet this problem with microplastics. So for us and for me, one of the biggest fights we have right now is to fight microplastics, go on to biodegradable products, and another custom pattern. So our solution and where we fight, and I should also say this, when it comes to climate, we have international, European, and national agreements, and we have legislation, we have technology, there is finance in the banks, there are green bonds and whatever. When it comes to microplastics, we have nothing of this. And this is something maybe that local municipalities can act on before the global legislators or politicians have got their act together. And we need to address this problem, because when it's in the sea, when it's in the fish, and when it's in the shrimps or mussels, then it's also on its way into the human body. That's why I'm so concerned about microplastics. Now, I was really going to talk about forestry today, as this is part of our, not only this region, it's 30% of the Swedish net export and our biggest sector. And you are surrounded by forestry products all the time. You could just look into this hall and see furniture, walls, building elements, and so on. And also, when you look at health issues, you do diapers for babies, help for women when in their monthly, for old people, sick people, and when you get a cold and you need to blow your nose. But also, or go to the kitchen or a toilet. But also when it comes to culture, books, literature, poetry, art, you also have fibers from trees, filters to clean the air or clean the water, textiles. And I come back to textiles, spices, in hospitals, in operations, when you need to use something that the human body can accept, and if it's made by biodegradable fibers, it's much easier for the doctors and for the human body to accept products like this. So what do we do to combine sustainability and the use of forestry products? Well, here we use green forestry plants. So the Swedish forests are divided into tiny micro areas, 100 to 200 meters. We have the plants digital in our iPhones or iPads, or maybe some have it also on paper. But here we do the planning of the forestry to see that we save what has to be saved, that we, if it's cultural remainance or archaeological remainance, or if it's a rare plant or a rare part of the environment, that we want to save for biodiversity. And if you combine all the different categories of what we're saving, it's around 25%. So this is clear for micromanagement with the help of ICT to see that we are not damaging the forests. Then, of course, for every tree we cut, we plant 2 or 3 new ones. And that means that since we have this national legislation in Sweden, 1903, the Swedish forest has grown for every year since then. And this is so important that we have this possibility for new products, new innovation, and biodegradable products without harming the forest, and at the same time see to that we have more trees and also more volumes. And this is important from a climate point of view. You know that when we negotiate climate, there is always a discussion on how to prevent emissions from cars, from buildings, from whatever human activities we have. But there is only one technique for taking the CO2 emissions out and down from the air, ton by ton. And legislation is not enough. It's extremely important, don't misunderstand me, but it's extremely important that we also see that we have growing things, grass, of course, food production in the fields, of course, but the most effective is planting trees, because there's always an emission when you cut or when you dig in the soil, but after 6 years you have a net uptake. And this goes on during the whole lifetime of a tree, all the way until it's very old and cannot do any work anymore. Then starts another process of breaking down. And rotting trees has methane emissions. And methane is 20 times worse than CO2. So the trick is to have as many trees as possible growing to be replanted really fast and then cut before they are into the final stage. And this should be in combination, of course, with reservoirs or national parks, where you save also part of the old trees, of course, for biodiversity reasons. But if you think about oxygen production, and if you think about taking down CO2 from the atmosphere, you need growing. And that is what we specialize in. And Sweden was once a deforested country. You can't imagine, or maybe you can't believe this when you travel around in this region and you see all the trees. But 100 years ago, roughly, we had huge problems. Everything was cut down for industrial reasons, heating reasons, and it finally got such a problem, became such a problem that the state decided about replanting legislation 1903. And since then, we have been able to use part of the growing, but also to let part of the growing stand and to increase our volumes of forest. And if I would wish something, an easy environmental thing that even poor people can do in developing countries, it's planting trees. And if there is a lack of food, it should be agroforestry that provides both foods and climate, and also increases the quality of the soil. Do you know how many years it takes to recreate 1 centimeter of soil that is usable for food production? What is your guess? Someone? 100 years. For 1 centimeter. If you have something biological that could be turned into soil. So you need growing also for as a precondition for recreating or remaking soil. That's why we need to be so careful when it comes to planning of our cities, when it comes to how we treat and create parks, and how we treat and create forestry. And for me, a dream come true after having participated in 15 UN climate negotiations during the years is if we could have a global replanting legislation. That would be a win-win-win situation. In Sweden, the trees grow with 120 million cubic meters per year. We use 90, and 1/4 is left to increase the forest that we have. And right now, 70% of Sweden is covered by forests. So there's a dramatic difference when you look at how it used to be. And these forests are offsetting 83% of our CO2 emissions. That is how important it is. But it is also important for health. And trees are perfect also when it comes to when you need better air quality. And that is something that we have to discuss also in our cities and our villages and local communities. In this country, 300 people per year are killed prematurely by traffic, which is a problem and tragic, and we invest billions in better streets, roundabouts, and a lot of methods to bring down the casualties from traffic. But if you look at how many that dies prematurely from bad air quality, it's 6,000. And this country is regarded as quite clean and with quite good environmental standards. So what we have to do is also to look at traffic in our cities and when we do our local planning, to get rid of old fossil-based motors and fuels that are emitting these particles that are so damaging to our health. And sometimes, it's a couple of weeks ago, I visited another city in Sweden, and I saw they had, with public procurement, they had decided up on the buses in the town. They had taken in what looked like the cheapest possible solution, short term, because what was there was old-fashioned diesel buses that emit a lot of these particles. And it was standing at the bus stop outside the hospital. So what they had procured was not only buses for public transport, but new patients for the hospital. And I give you this example to take with you when you go into politics or decision-making, or when you're working on public opinion, or when you are engaging in environmental issues. Another very simple example, with climate we will see a lot of heavy rains. It's going to be more weather for all our countries around the Baltic Sea. And it's fascinating to see how many municipalities are putting hard cover on the soil, asphalt, and leaning it slightly towards the sewage system. And that is a sure way of creating floods in the city center. So what we have to do is to change our thinking, look at the problem in a holistic, long-term way, and try to find smart solutions. And it's not always that you have to think of everything yourself. Meetings like this, good examples, discussion with friends, is the basis for the future. And the future is not determined. We often hear all these black stories of what will happen horrible stories, how catastrophes will occur from climate, from all other areas. But what we can do is that we can change this. We can solve this if we cooperate. And one basis is actually the UN Sustainable Development Goals and your determination. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I would just end this speech by saying, yes, we can. Thank you.
So thank you, Lena. Before I let you go, I have a question for you. A local example of how we cooperate between enterprise, between research and our Linnaeus University, and also to solve actual problems that we have in society is how we use forest for housing. We are a city with a large scale of tree house building. In what way do you want, as a share of Södra, a large actor in development in this area, to participate in further development of how we can connect enterprise research and solving problems in society?
Yeah. Well, firstly, if you build in concrete or steel, you emit 20 to 30 times more CO2 than if you build in with wood. So that's a smart way. It also creates a lot of other positive effects, and I could speak for hours about this. But Växjö has decided that 2020, 50% of all the new buildings should be made by wood. And that's why you can see all the used technologies demonstrated live here in Växjö. Different kinds of buildings, different kinds of sport facilities. Södra has a tennis hall that is a zero building, or a plus building even, made of wood, of course. And when you manage the forest wisely, and like we do, with the help of ICT, micromanage the forests. And actually, Apple was here 2 weeks ago to look at our apps and what we've done. And I said, well, that's, of course, positive. I hope we have patents on everything. But this is, of course, one way that is really smart. When you plastic bags and the plastic issues is, of course, and what we're doing is we're providing new materials that is biodegradable for packaging. Instead of the old-fashioned plastic bags, you can have other equally practical bags, but made of biodegradables. And textiles. 75% of the world's textile is oil-based. But if you buy viscose, lyocell, or modal, it's made from birch, maybe, from this area, because we provide that kind of textile pulp, and that is the raw material for those biodegradable textiles. And gradually we have to move over. We are also producing, of course, biofuels, liquid biofuels. We have to move from fossils to biodegradables. And, of course, I would like, and in our cooperative with our 50,000 families that has worked for 80 years to build an industry like this and to provide sustainable jobs also, we would like that it should, of course, be forest-based, but there are a lot of other ways of getting biodegradable fibers or raw materials. The thing is that we have to, it's not only talking about climate and microplastics that's needed, it's actually action.
That's a very good finish. Thank you, Lena. And
Thank you.
I have for you a gift from the UBC. It's a disaster relief package for the UNICEF in your name. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The cooperation between enterprise and academy in order to solve different problems in society is a need that we have in this whole region. And a good example of how we can do this is actually by supporting youth enterprise in our universities. Now we have the honor to listen to two of our participants here. We will listen to Edgar Nazarenus and Vincent Weseloh from Capufaktur, and they provide support for young entrepreneurs in universities. So please, the floor is yours, and a warm applause for you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you to the UBC that we got invited to this beautiful place. Thank you, Oliver, for this even more beautiful introduction. This is Edgar Nazarenus. My name is Vincent Weseloh. We are both students of the university in Greifswald. But beside that, we work as business consultants in our student organization called Capufaktur. And today, we want to talk about the topic, developing leaders of tomorrow.
Thank you, Vincent. So in 2012, the European Commission conducted a study about entrepreneurial programs in universities. And what it found out was that students who participate in entrepreneurial programs actually develop better entrepreneurial attitudes, intentions. They get a job easier and have a higher probability of getting hired, as well as being more innovative in the firm or themselves. And they start more businesses. So we have concrete numbers to support our cause, basically. And what we do exactly, so Capufaktur is a non-profit organization composed and managed entirely by students of higher education. In Greifswald, that's students from the University of Greifswald, such as us. And Capufaktur gives students the opportunity to put their theoretical knowledge into practice through the realization of projects with local companies or institutions like the city and so on. And professionalism and quality orientation are the basis of our work because we are very driven and we want to achieve good things and we want to leave an impact on society as well. So we are very dedicated to our cause and our work. Yeah. So this is basically our universe. So you see that right in the middle we have the consultant, which is also a student, and everything revolves around him because our approach is that we want to develop our students, our consultants, our members in the best ways we can. So we are doing this by giving them the practical experience through projects and as well as knowledge because we educate them about project management, presentational techniques, different stuff, communication workshops and all that. So we give them all of this and as well the support of our network because we have a bunch of umbrella organizations which support us by contacts and support and quality management, audits, and so on. For example, we have different levels for that. We have a regional level, and on top of that, we have the national level, and the umbrella organization in Germany is called BDSU, Bund Deutscher Studentischer Unternehmensberater. And on top of that, on the European level, we have JADE, which is the Confederation of Junior Enterprises across Europe. And yeah, we are represented in 14 countries across Europe, and we are working on a global network right now. So, due to our efforts, we achieve an impact on university by educating our students even more through practical work, and as well doing projects in business and have a concrete impact there as well. And through that, we shoot for improving the society at large because we want to have social responsible entrepreneurs and consultants, and we want to develop them the best we can. And through projects, for example, we actually have a concrete impact right now. So, for example, I do a bunch of projects for example, the city, where we help with the integration of refugees. Or, for example, another project I'm working on right now is for evaluating a smart home system for retired people, basically for prevention of like accidents, for example, because they have to get up in the evening and night, and then with the smart home system, the light goes on and they don't trip and like could hurt themselves. So we actually have an impact on society. Yeah. And to give you proof for that, here are the numbers of our European movement. It's founded in 1992, called JADE. We have right now 300 junior enterprises. These are organizations such as us, such as Capufaktur. Yeah, across Europe, 14 countries, 26,000 junior entrepreneurs, and per year we achieve a cumulated turnover of roughly 14 million euros. And yeah, so I think we quite have an impact. So, Vincent.
Thank you. So, yeah, obviously, there are loads of ways how a student could gain experience, how a student could become the best they could be. For example, an internship. Like everyone knows internships, you go into a company, you get to know the business, that's great, but internships usually lack of decisions. You get your tasks, you do them, if you're good, you get an offer, everything's nice. On the other hand, there are typical student organizations, like when you work for the university, where you make your own decisions, you organize things, you organize events, which is brilliant. But a lot of the times, these organizations do not really stay in contact with the business world, do they? So, and in this point, this is where Capufaktur hits, this is where junior enterprises work. So we are a student organization, we are organized ourselves, we make our own decisions. Our decisions have an impact on how our business works. And doing that, we work with companies and we connect business and university at the same time. Yeah, how does it work? Do we just do project? No, we don't, obviously. Therefore, we just took our 4 pillars for you. What does our work consist of? What does it mean to be in a junior enterprise? And first of all, being part of a huge network on a national and international level. Like Edgar said, we have the BDSU, we have the JADE, and a lot of the times we just travel around the country, we meet other junior entrepreneurs, we exchange experiences, and that's what it's all about. It's about exchanging wisdom, knowledge, and experiences. The next thing are projects. Obviously, this is the main part of our work. We work with companies, we work with organizations on a pro bono basis, but also for a little bit of money. And what we want to do is, like, we have a hands-on mentality. We want to do things, we want to change things in the society. The third one is community. What does community mean? Obviously, it means fun, but it also means that we are an organization and we are divided in several departments. For example, HR, IT, PR, acquisitions. We are an organization and we need to keep that organization running. Therefore, we work together in these different departments to keep Capufaktur successful. And the last one are workshops. I think workshops is a wide word. I think you can imagine a lot of different things hearing that word. But it's mainly, again, about knowledge, gaining knowledge. And therefore, we have a large alumni system, which means our alumni are successful today in the business world. They founded companies. And through them, we get a really deep dive into the business world and get to know how things work outside of university. As you might have heard, it's all about education, isn't it? So therefore, we picked 3 of our main goals, what we want to educate. The first one is fostering entrepreneurial skills. The special thing about junior enterprises is that they have a big diversity. For example, Edgar is studying psychology, while I'm studying business and science of communication. So there are a lot of courses who do not really stay in contact with the business world. So that therefore, we want to give everyone a wide knowledge about how the world outside of the university works. What does it mean to be part of an economy? What does it mean to be part of a business, to be a player on a market? The next goal is the personal development. What we want to achieve is that the people, our students, our members, can hold presentations, can hold speeches, are not afraid to take up challenges, or they can work in teams with people they don't know yet. Personal development. And the third one, probably the most important one, is the proactive involvement. Because at the end of the day, we want that our members go out in the world and they make an impact, that they know that they matter, that their decisions matter, and they can change things if they want to. But why should companies work with junior enterprises? Why should organizations work with junior enterprises? As we've already heard, there are a lot of benefits for students, but we picked 3 of our USPs for you to show you what makes us better than other people to work with. The first one is innovation. What we do, we're students, we don't have 20 years of experience, but what we have is creativity, what we have is a drive, what we have is coming freshly out of the university, and that makes our solutions unique. The second one is result orientation, which means, like I said, we have the drive. The members of the Capufaktur are putting a lot of effort into the organizations, and what they want to see results. They want to change things. Therefore, we want to get things done quickly, but definitely with a high level of quality. The third one is committed professionalism. We work with our umbrella organizations, and each year we have to go through multiple audits, which guarantee the certain level of our quality. On the other hand, companies like to work with us and like to recruit our students because we are called like high potentials in their eyes, and therefore we get insights into the business and we get tips, we get workshops, which other people can't really have. Eventually I can just say, Theodore Roosevelt once said, believe you can and you're halfway there. That's nice, and that's how we develop our leaders. We believe that we can become the leaders of tomorrow, but we also know that the other half of becoming the leader of tomorrow means that you need to put in a lot of hard work. So I hope you enjoyed the little presentation. I'm afraid we're running out of time. So here are our contacts. Feel free to ask us anything you want. We'll be here the whole day. And I'm happy to hear some questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you. And also for you, we have these relief packages for disasters from UNICEF. So thank you so much for this very, very nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I will introduce to you my co-moderator for the rest of this session, Franziska Ehlert, who is the representative for Rostock and also leading the youth delegation from Rostock. So welcome to the stage, Franziska.
So a very warm welcome to everyone who took the time to be with us and to hear the voices of tomorrow. It's a real pleasure for me to be with you. And it's a real pleasure for me to not talk about me or talk about you right now, but to open up the stage for the voices of tomorrow and to introduce to you our very, very first speakers. They are the ones who will now deal with one of the tasks which were given to them by the Cultural Cities Commission. The Cultural Cities Commission asked our very first speakers to explain and show to the audience what they think, how they could empower youngsters to participate in cultural activities. And you will now see 2 speakers who present the thoughts and ideas of the whole youth conference, who met right parallel to your General Assembly. And so I really like to ask you to have a very warm welcome for Dina from Riga, Lithuania, and for the wonderful guy who is with her. It's Osvaldas from Klaipėda, in Lithuania, and Dina is from Latvia, so have a big applause for them. The stage will be yours, and in order to make sure that your voices will be heard today, these ones are for you.
Check. Okay. As an active students in our cities, we want to present our ideas about how we can bring more young people to active cultural events. First of all, we thought about strategically placed youth centers, because most of the cities has no place where young people can come and realize themselves, show what they can do and what they want to do. Second of all, we thought about transport, because some cities just don't give young people like buses or, I don't know, transports. Some people from rural areas just can't get to the events and participate in active city life. Third of all, it's planning. Like, we thought that like government should invite young people to help them in creating like big events for city or so. Fourth, it would lower the costs to enter like museums, libraries, not libraries, but art galleries for young people, students, even teachers maybe if they bring a group with them. So yeah, advertisements is one of the biggest things that should be improved. I think like media, Facebook usage, it should be used 100% because everyone uses this. We thought about even an app, like event calendar for everyone. Also, there should be young people that would promote events, walking in the streets, universities, schools, and talk about events that will upcome in their own city. Also, live performances. It's the best way to bring everyone in one place and to listen and to say what you want to say. So, yeah.
Furthermore, as he already said, events should be free or at least affordable. They should include irregular things. They should be active, not passive, because youngsters in our age, we can't sit straight for like 3 hours. We need action. They should be up-to-date, modern activities. And also, of course, they should have well-crafted advertisements. And age groups also should be kept in mind, because you can't make an event for a 14-year-old and expect 18-year-olds to go to it. Events may be held in different parts of the city. Also, there could be youth centers, like some youth cafes or youth clubs, in which youngsters would be able to express themselves in every way possible, maybe some poetry slams or singing or playing music. And we, UBC youngsters, we generated some ideas which include modern art, also new artist exhibitions in the city, maybe public transport or malls or parks, museum and science nights, which are a really big thing in Latvia, maybe graffiti competitions, more art programs in schools. We also think that it would be really important if cultural events would be a part of everyday life in school. And we think that it would be a really good idea to make more workshops with professionals where young artists or just interessants could go and talk and play and learn from the best. In conclusion, the Baltic region youth says that we want to take part in cultural events and we want to help you plan them. Youth has the ideas, we just need the resources and a chance to make them happen. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much. When we are finished with the 7 sessions, we will welcome you to stage again for some questions with the audience. So thank you very much. The second participants we will listen to now will be the representatives from that had been discussing the Smart and Prospering Cities Commission, and this is Christophers and Albin from Riga and from Gävle. And this commission looks especially into the question of digitalization and how new technique can take us closer to each other. And the use of social media and digitalization can, of course, take us closer, both vertical and horizontal. So we can both have a closer distance between in this case, Riga and Gävle, but also between citizens and decision makers. So please, the floor is yours and welcome.
Thank you. When I, as a youngster, was asked the question about how the cities around the Baltic Sea could use digitalization to increase youth participation, my first thought was, why haven't they followed Estonia's example of e-voting?
E-voting is a revolutionizing step for the political world to reach into home of new voters, which has had a very good result in Estonia, where e-voting has become increasingly popular with the number of e-voters from 1.9 to 21.2% in just 8 years, as more and more people from the new generations are becoming of age.
The reason for this are many, but the biggest reason is that it's much easier to use e-voting for those living in rural areas or who are otherwise unable to transport themselves due to an illness or another serious issue. You could also use e-voting to determine the opinion of youth using a form of ghost election. By allowing people aged 16 to 18 to vote, it will make it much easier for the older generations to understand what is important for youth.
Another way to increase youth participation and interest in local politics would be to offer the opportunity to watch the city council's meetings through social media and allow them to ask questions about policy that they are discussing to a moderator, who then picks the most important ones. The recordings of these meetings will be then available to schools to use for educational purposes to educate students about how the political system in their country works.
The next idea is more about educating the youth to make them more interested in politics instead of a direct impact like e-voting. What we propose is that the political parties, together with the civil workers, work together to create a YouTube video for all parties explaining their political views and history.
This will be an alternative to current way of teaching about the parties in school, and we believe that it would be much more interesting for the students.
We believe that if all these ideas were to be realized, they could increase youth participation in politics massively.
Thank you for your attention. We hope that you liked our ideas.
Just stay with me for a moment. So thank you very much, you two, and we will have space for questions right after we heard all speeches. So just to explain to the audience, the youngsters have been working on these tasks and coming up with their suggestions in the last 24 hours. So that's basically the job they did, and that's how they prepared for these presentations. And it really is an important thing for me that you also welcome our next speakers really warmly on this stage. She is all by herself, and the wonderful lady will deal with a question she got from the Planning Cities Commission. The Planning Cities Commission asked our youngsters how it can be possible to make it happen that different generations can live together in one place. And Laura from Denmark, from Kulpersund, she was brave enough to take up the challenge and present the results the youngsters came up with. So please have a warm applause for Laura here on the stage.
Hi. It's quite intimidating standing up here with all these important adults. My name is Laura. I'm from Guldborgsund, Denmark, and I'll be talking about intergenerational cities. When I asked the other youth participants what they thought about this topic, the main thing we came up with was the local communities creating local events for everyone. Like sports activities or problem-solving meetings where every youth participant can have a say in what's going on in their future communities. These events should not be held in new buildings where you build buildings for everyone to come, because a lot of people said they've already tried this in their cities, and it did not work because the adults will take control and the youth won't be heard. That's why we came up with that you should use the already built buildings. So in that way you'll create more activity and more life in every city. And that way it becomes instantly more attractive. These meetings about whether you should build a youth club or make a cleanup day, like what's going on around the communities, should be open from all ages. So it's not the same adults sitting there deciding for us. Because then it will be open for everyone who's passionate about each topic and has something to put on the table. And that way it will also be a event or a place for everyone where they all feel like they had a say in what the building should be like or something. I'm sorry. About these buildings, there's these spaces where everyone has something to say. There's actually examples already where this is happening that us participants feel like is very nice because we all have something to say and opinions. An example is these kind of youth exchanges where we all come and have something to say and are passionate about topics, trying to find other people who feel the same way. So that's why we're very thankful to come here and let us put our ideas out and make us heard. So thank you.
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for sharing your thought.
Thank you very much, Laura. And I want to say to you, you started out by saying that you were talking about these important grown-ups. But remember that you are, of course, an important youth. And when I was first elected as a city councillor, I was 18 years old here in Växjö. And I actually pretty fast found out that experience of life is not only something that you accumulate by the years, but also something that you are the only one having right now. None of the important grown-ups have the important experience of being in your age right now. So, therefore, you are also not only a voice of tomorrow, but also a voice of today. Remember that. Now the fourth participants, Gerdam and Marie, and they will, Marie Trin, they will speak to us about the working group on gender equality and how we can get equal access for men and for women to labor market, to civil society, and to other parts of the everyday life. So welcome, and thank you for being with us.
Try this one. This is the white one.
So before we start, we want to clarify that in our opinion, gender equality does not only include the biological gender, but also the social gender. And for us, gender equality means that everybody has the same rights and opportunities, and they're unaffected by their gender. But we're not working hard enough on the issues we have of gender equality in our cities and countries. So we have really big issues concerning with the payment gap between men and women. So according to the European Commission 2014, there was a payment gap between men and women in Latvia from 23%. So women got paid 23.1% less than men. Yeah, it shouldn't be like this. Also, there are big problems with stereotypes based on gender. We think we often attribute people based on their gender, and we think people should not be neither girly or boyish based on their biological gender. And as an example, we can take a look at the media and how they present gender. I think we all don't want that our boys think that they can only wear a certain kind of clothes. I think we can all agree with that. And yeah. Also, there are big issues in the education system. And because they support gender roles, and we have to do something about it. In Estonia, girls still have to knit and sew, while boys do woodwork, and both can usually not learn the other subject. These are our everyday problems, locally as well as regionally, and we have to do something about it, and you have to do something about it.
So, we have 3 starting points for you to make a more equal society. First, well, in Germany, there is a salary gap of only 2 to 7%, and they're still working on it. Every Baltic Sea country must do as them and establish gender equal payment for everyone. Second, all the parents must have equal right for their children. For instance, when parents get divorced, one parent is not preferred based on gender, or when a baby is born. It should be socially accepted and financially treated equal that both parents can stay at home with their kid the same amount of time. Finally, there must be changes made in educational systems. Students must be taught that there are no gender roles and study cannot depend on gender. Teachers have to be educated as well. They need to learn teaching without supporting gender roles. There are our children, your children, and us students. We all need equal education. We have already come a long way 2 years, but there's still a long way ahead. UBC has already a charter for gender equality, but there's many cities who have not signed it yet. And we are already endeavoring for gender equality. We need you to be committed as well. Thank you.
So thank you to Gerda from Rostock and Marie. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you. And now it's a pleasure for me to introduce a young lady from Riga to you. She will answer to a question which was given to her by the Youthful Cities Commission. And that's the commission we are all part of. And that's the commission who was organizing this youth conference. And we really wanted to know from the youngsters how our educational system at the moment can prepare them to stand up for leadership tomorrow, to really be the voices of tomorrow. And Laura came up with so great ideas, so come to the stage, please. So this is Laura from Riga, Latvia. The stage is yours. You need this.
Young people today are the leaders of tomorrow. It's a great honor to be here and represent youth's opinion in Baltic Sea regions. As being a young leader myself has opened up a lot of opportunities to participate. Leaders are the ones in our society who recognizes the problem, gathers a team, and are the initiators for action. They are role models for others. Leaders control, prevent the cause of chaos. They are the primal progress makers in our society. And the ones who, by taking the initiative, are offering opportunities to the ones they would lead. Nothing can move forward if everyone works alone, and nothing moves forward if the team doesn't have a leader. The way we could encourage leadership quality development and motivate the youth to participate is by improving the educational system. More specific, the educational system should encourage the youth to practically get involved, participate and speak their minds by supporting youth councils and youth organizations, where you can start practicing their leadership and teamwork skills at an early age. Implement more useful and practical lessons like critical thinking and discussion class. Give pupils choice to learn what they want and learn what they are interested in. Motivate them with alternative teaching methods. Take the learning styles in consideration and implement them in educational system, so pupils could pick up the knowledge quicker and easier. Educate the teachers, so their teaching methods would be up to date, and they would be motivated to teach, and that would have a huge impact on students' attitude on studying. A lot of youngsters feel like they don't have an impact on the educational system, and we are the ones who it affects the most. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you will take our suggestions into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. The next questions to be answered are wide. How can we contribute to sustainability of environment, of social sustainability and economical sustainability by city planning? So the next one up is the Planning Cities Commissions, and they will answer a variety of questions concerning how we can use our city planning for a sustainable development. So the floor now belongs to Eric and Erikas from Estonia and from Lithuania.
To start off, we would like to give our sincerest gratitude to the Union of Baltic Cities for bringing us here and allowing us the opportunity to be heard. We were asked by the Planning Cities Commission to provide input on reducing resource consumption in cities and what makes them attractive to the youth.
One of the most visible problems in the cities is traffic. There is just too much of it. Not only does it take valuable land away from the city, forever increasing road networks, but also parking space, which becomes necessary when a large amount of cars is present in a city, which leads to urban sprawl, the bane of walkable cities. To help alleviate this, we have come up with several possible policy solutions to reduce the volume of motor cars in the city.
The first one being grid city planning. This method of planning makes cities friendlier for pedestrians because footpaths are often more direct than paths formed by radial city planning. This sort of planning should be taken advantage of by creating miniaturized mixed commercial residential areas in the middle of the blocks, which would be a pedestrian-only zone, essentially creating miniature city centers in the middle of the blocks. This would reduce both foot and car traffic between different city blocks because of the increased intertwining of residential and commercial zones.
To reduce all types of traffic in the city and to simultaneously decrease the resource spent on transportation, city planning should try to create high-density mixed zone areas that have a combination of commercial and residential use buildings or multi-purpose structures, basically like in New York City, that will cut back on the need for the population to move around in the city because residents, shops, and jobs would be located closer to each other.
An advanced public transportation system is crucial for reducing fuel consumption in the city. In our view, a system like this would have the following characteristics: a rapid bus system, expansive bicycle infrastructure, underground roadways where they would be appropriate, as well as being free for residents to encourage them to utilize it. All of these aspects have been individually proven to work in many cities around Europe, and some combination of them could potentially provide one of the best public transportation systems in the world.
As for we believe what an attractive city for youth is, it is a city featuring a myriad of cultural events like festivals, theater plays, thematic weeks, exhibitions, and most importantly, it should be a multicultural city which would be welcoming to everybody so that everyone will find a place with like-minded individuals and start forming personal relationships.
Another aspect of a city that would interest the youth is the presence of both governmental and non-governmental organizations. A city with many organizations that band people together is often better managed than those that do not. Additionally, they provide a chance for you to find like-minded individuals that are willing to work towards a shared goal.
To summarize, we propose shifting city planning to focus to high-density mixed residential commercial zones, while also adopting the grid city layout that is more pedestrian-friendly than radial planning. Additionally, considerable effort should be put into creating an excellent transportating system that will reduce the consumption of fossil fuels. As for attracting youth, we believe that cultural urban areas that have a lot of organizations are the most attractive to the youth.
We hope that these ideas will provide a starting step for policy that will help to improve the lives of everyone residing in cities and produce a sustainable society. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts and ideas, and we will have time for some questions afterwards. Last but not least, I would like to introduce two more speakers to you. One of them is from Denmark, the other one is from Tallinn, and they were asked a question from the Safe Cities Commission. They were asked what they think are the most important security issues and challenges in the cities in the Baltic Sea region. And they even came up with solutions. So please open the stage to Daniel from Guldborgsund, Denmark, and to Birgit from Tallinn. So have a huge applause for them. It's your stage.
We have asked youngsters from Denmark, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Finland, Sweden and Germany about the most urgent safety issues in their countries.
All youngsters, despite of the country where they lived, brought out that the most urgent safety issue is violence caused by racism. In Baltic cities, they also brought out the violence that's caused by homophobia. The solution should be education and media to change people's mentality about refugees and other sexualities.
All the youngsters said something about alcohol and drugs being a big problem in their countries, which the user brings great danger to himself and his or her surroundings. Also, the Baltic countries and Finland has a problem with drunk drivers. The solution would be prevention with media and education.
In Estonia, Sweden, Latvia, and Finland, youngsters are worried about domestic violence. It's usually against women and kids, and the solution should be that we should bring it public so the victims wouldn't be embarrassed to confess that they are victims. So the help comes from media.
All youngsters are like worried about sexual assault, mostly young girls being harassed and catcalled. In Finland, they think the problem is the easy punishment, like jail is not that long time. In Lithuania and Estonia, the youngsters are scared because there isn't like that much light on the streets. The solution to this would be fixing the law in Finland, more lights on the streets in Lithuania and Estonia, and more education about sexual assault.
In Baltic countries, people claim that they have trust issues with the police. People avoid the police and do not believe that they could help. Here could help also the media to create better image of the police, and people will find help in them.
These were the most urgent safety issues around Europe for young people. We hope we can find a solution together in the near future. But for now, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So
You
please
did great, thank you.
stay with us on the stage, please. Daniel and Birgit, would you please stay with us on the stage? And now we want to welcome the other presenters, because we have some time for a couple of questions from the audience. So while we wait for the presenters, we will see if there are anyone wanting to ask the youth any questions about their work. So do we have a first question? Yes. So
you can share it and pass it.
This is not working. Yeah, it's working. Okay. My name is Patrick Olsen. I'm the chairman of the town board in Mariehamn, Åland Islands. I'm also a member of the parliament in Åland. And I was actually thinking about the question when the two guys here discussed about e-voting and the age of 16 with the ghost vote. And I was thinking about our legislation. We had this summer a new legislation that was going to give 16 years real voting rights in municipality elections, because that today it's actually 20 years, the average year when you can vote, because of the mandate period of 4 years. So that would give an average of 18 years if you set it to 16. So I was for that, but unfortunately the High Court of Finland said no, because it was against the Constitution of Finland. But my question to you is, I think you should have real voting rights from 16, and not just some kind of ghost voting. Have you discussed that at all in your group, or have you not discussed it, and the pros and cons of having real voting rights?
We have discussed this both here, and I spoke a little bit about it in Berlin this summer. There are very many youth who want to have voting right at 16. The problem with that is that I don't know if people know enough about politics at that age to get to participate for real at 16 years old. I think ghost voting is the first step. People can become comfortable with voting, but right now I would not support voting at 16.
Thank you. We have time for one or two more questions. Do we have any other question, or was everything so clear that we can implement the thoughts from the youth straight away? Good. That sounds like a perfect plan.
We obviously agreed on that. So
Yeah,
by clapping, you will... Oh, there
now
is
we
a
have one
question.
extra question.
Ah.
Yes, please.
I'm Karin from Örebro in Sweden, working with the EU project. I just have a technical question. Can we get those results, their discussion, their papers in some way? Thank you.
So as Carsten, the Vice Chair from the Youth for Cities Commission, already answered, yes, you can get the results, and all the youngsters agreed to share their papers and notes just with you, so you can get the most out of their thoughts. This is an applause. Yeah. Okay, I can see there is one more question, and so the stage is yours.
Yeah,
it's coming
right there.
Hello, my name is Anna Enemark. I come from the Council of the Baltic Sea States. I don't have a real question, but I have a remark. I just want to say thanks to you. Thanks a lot for all these thoughts and ideas. And it's so inspirational to listen to all of you. And I'm also glad that we can hopefully have your presentations in written form so we can bring on all your ideas. And okay, if I have one little question, it should be, now you have been working in your camp, like in parallel to the conference. Do you have any ideas how you could be like more an active part of the conference in the whole process, and not just coming with your results, but have more interactions with the decision makers? And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who feels ready for this, to have some suggestions?
During some of the workshops or the parallel sessions, like you said, some sessions that I was in, there weren't that many questions and a lot of free time, and there was a lot of free time at the end. I feel that since this was all broadcast live, I feel that they could have used social media for, a moderator could have picked out questions from social media from people not present at the conference to be answered. That could have added more questions, maybe expanded on the information presented on the live streams.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. And I think in the feedback session during the youth conference, we will pick up your questions. So thank you for this question. And we will definitely come up with ideas. Oh, I can see there is another question. Linda, can you add to that?
Well, actually, it's not a question. It's more like a remark for the last question. Well, we have discussed a lot about the conference as young, and we think that also interactivity is definitely the answer. We will get the most results if we work together and actively question the topics here. So, because we have so much research and so many possibilities with all these young people surrounding here. So we think that together, older politicians and as younger youth, well, I guess you can call us also politicians, we can together really solve the problems, not just talk about them, but have solutions.
Thank you. And just to make sure that you can get an impression how many youngsters joined and put together their ideas, I would like to ask everyone who was a member of this youth conference just to stand up in your seats so everyone can see the ones who did this great work, and all the applause is just for you right now.
Thank you so much for participating, thank you for presenting, and thank you for listening. We will now take a break at this session, and you will all come back to the schedule afterwards there. Just as a final word, I think this is very important. I believe that by this cooperation, we can keep on this progress of our Union of Baltic Cities. Throughout history, the Baltic Sea have been in some way something that has been dividing, but today it's more like a Northern European inland sea. And I believe that the idea of cooperation around this sea can really make this region even stronger together, with mobility, with a unified labor market, with research together, and with this cooperation. So thank you for listening, and also take the time now to also ask the youth more about their work so they can share it with you. Thank you.
Shall we just leave? I take this.